Yeah.
With a message for my people.
Nick Dad, baby. We the new label.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, son.
Now this the black sheep sticking its home. I need a crib
Like I'm Gatsby.
I
Need
need it in
it.
hand, just understand my
Pockets that deep.
with nothing to prove. I ain't got nothing to do when they can't compete, and I got nothing to lose. You see, they told
Get
me
it.
I'm the one
Let's do this.
Back in the building. Veterans Minimum, the #1 sports betting vibe on the internet. I'm your host, Nick Dais. At Nick Dais 10, as you can find me, all things Veterans Minimum, at Veterans Minimum. Mr. George Carmona in the building.
Yes. I'm back. I got a nice little Astros hat on, dude.
Wow.
It says cheaters in cursive letters on the side. So it's pretty sick. Shout out to my brother for giving it to me.
Hell yeah, man.
Bro's
Oh,
making
yeah.
money now, so he's got
Nice.
he's like gifting back.
What was he just on? I saw some list you had you reposted.
Because Pro Football's focus is top offensive lineman in the SEC. And he graded out second highest out of all the SEC linemen. So hasn't played a snap in the SEC yet. He has played SEC competition. I'm about to go up probably sometime in July, and we'll close some more deals so I can get some more fancy hats like this.
Hell yeah, bro. Shouts to little big bro,
Yeah,
Fernando.
facts. Facts.
Let's talk. There's a lot to discuss.
Mhm.
I want to first do something I don't usually do. I want to show love to hockey.
Do it, Nick. I was just telling Antoine, I was like, it's the best sports betting vibe, but very rarely do we get to talk a little bit of puck.
I want to talk a little puck only because I've probably watched more NHL playoffs than NBA playoffs. I think NHL playoffs, the vibe is way cooler.
Mm-hmm.
The atmosphere in the arenas is nuts. It's harder to score. And I think one of the big reasons why I like hockey is because it reminds me a lot of soccer, where when a sport is difficult to score in,
Mm-hmm.
is a bigger roar from the crowd, right? Like
Right.
it's more exciting and devastating depending on where you're at. Like, dude,
Agreed.
the Rangers just lost a game in overtime. It was their first overtime L in the playoffs, this playoffs. And it's like, fuck, yo, you feel like the world ended.
Right.
But then when they win in overtime, you're like, holy shit, they're winning the cup, right? Like the swing of emotions is crazy. And I would describe myself as a casual. Like a lot of my buddies back home follow hockey, and being in group chats, that's how I'm kind of tapped in with everything.
Right.
But I've been watching also because I'm financially invested.
Yeah. Congratulations to you.
Well, so far,
We had a little speed bump tonight, but hey.
Little speed bump the last two nights. The Rangers now 2-2 going back to New York. Dallas Stars 2-2 going back to Dallas at the conclusion. We had it on in the studio. That's why I'm also bringing it up. But I have a Rangers Stars to be the Stanley Cup and a Mavericks Celtics to be the NBA Finals parlay. And then I have a couple of other monster parlays. Like I have a Mavericks Rangers parlay. I have a Mavericks Stars parlay. So in the event of Mavericks in the finals, Stars, Rangers in the final, I hit the one bet, which is a monster.
Right.
But then I'll probably hedge by laying juice on the Celtics,
Got it.
because these are like $25, $50 bets that I've made
Mm-hmm.
way back. Like some of them was when Mahomes and the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. I hit some of these bets.
Damn.
I made them. And then most of them were at the beginning of the playoffs. But I wanted to ask you, man, because I've really enjoyed it. Do you like NHL playoff hockey?
I do.
Are you a hockey fan at all? Because, you know, our hometown Golden Knights won it last year.
Of course. Hockey has been a sport that, was dumped into my life by the Knights being here. I went to the Knights' first ever playoff game against the Kings. And people have always said it about Vegas in the first year, and I guess it can really go for any team, where it's like, well, that's not like the real playoff atmosphere. It's your guys' first time, so you can't really, identify with the culture. And, for some of these teams like Edmonton, a team from Canada hasn't won the cup in 20 years or something crazy. So having the history behind it is part of what makes the crowd go crazy. But I will say this, that game that I went to with the Knights and the Kings was insane. And the Knights ended up winning in overtime. And so it was all good memories and moments. The Knights then go on to make the Stanley Cup where they lost to the Capitals. So yeah, I would say if the Knights would have sucked, I would not be that into hockey. But being able to experience like what the highs of the sport can bring you, I am a fan. It's tough for me to watch teams that aren't the Knights because like I just don't know a lot of the players.
I feel the same way with baseball and hockey. Like, dude, when I went to Buffalo for college, huge hockey town. That was around the time when Team USA had Ryan Miller at goalie, and he played for the Sabres. And they went on that run where they lost, I believe, in overtime to Canada for the gold medal. And like that USA team at the time, like kind of overachieved, right? I was really into hockey. And then the early 2010s, the Rangers made a Stanley Cup conference final. So I was like all in on hockey. But I had a couple buddies like my buddy Espo, my buddy Dylan. They're big Ranger fans. So we would always go to their houses and watch. So I became, like, I was a massive fan of the Rangers at one point. But then as I got older and I started creating the content too, it was like, it's hard to keep up on everything. We would do a hockey segment early on, Veterans Minimum, and you'd see like, man, no one's listening to this unless they're from Montreal or Toronto. Like,
yeah,
you know, when you look at the demographic charts. And then with baseball, it was the same thing. So like, I keep up with the Mets fucking dumpster fire this year, let me tell you. But I feel the same way. I echo the same sentiment as far as like, it's cool to know about Kreider and Zibanejad and Panarin, but I don't know all the other guys.
I do enjoy a few things about playoff hockey to stay on. Like, it is a very enjoyable watch, but the timing has to be right. So for me, it's like the final 15 minutes of the third period. It kind of kills me a little bit to have those 2 20-minute breaks. And then if they go into overtime, you get another one. And the cool thing, though, about overtime hockey, no commercials.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm here for it. A lot of sports should probably, do they do it in, I guess they probably don't do it in any sport. Does the NBA run commercials during
overtime?
Yeah. I think they do.
I don't know, but overtime's also 5 minutes.
True. Yeah, you get 20 minutes.
Yeah, you get a whole nother period. Like, there's been times where teams have played a whole nother game.
Yeah. Yeah, I had just gotten put onto that like last week. Cameron's dad, I was like asking him, he said one game went into like 5 overtimes.
There's been a couple. I know the Rangers have played some 2 and 3 overtime games.
Oof.
You know, the one thing I will say, because whenever I post tickets and it's like hockey stuff, everyone's like, yo, bro, what? Where? All credit goes to my buddy Dylan. Shouts to Dylan out of Brandy. He's been on the show many times before in the past. He's told me like the last 4 Stanley Cup winners, and he told me that the Stars were going to win the Cup. He's a big Ranger fan.
Got it.
He's like, I don't want to get my hopes up, but they won the President's Trophy. They'll be in the mix. I was like, fuck it. Homer pick. Super homer pick. But I had to show him love on that because if people see, I'm not all of a sudden betting hockey. It's just, this is what he's told me. He's my source. And it's been great. And also, just to put a bow on this conversation, the games are a lot closer. NBA, you've had a bunch of like 20-point wins for one team or double-digit wins.
Yeah, and the swings don't allow the fans to cheer the way that they should.
Yeah.
In a sense. Like, I feel like NBA fans are like reserved. The only fans that I felt something with this far into the playoffs is the Knicks.
Yeah.
The Knicks, MSG popping off when DiVincenzo hits the game-tying 3 against Philly. That's like a all-time NBA playoff moment right there.
Yeah. Nah, for sure, man. And shout out to the Knicks fans. They always are one of the best fan bases. A little irrational at some points. I am too. But for the most part, definitely bring it, to quote Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. All right. I want to ask you a couple things. Let's stay on task with NBA. Don't really want to talk much about the Celtics. They cleaned up. I thought it would end in 4 or 5, especially when Halliburton went out, even though it seemed like the Pacers played better without him.
Yeah.
That was really interesting. Nebhart ended up stepping up massively. And I believe he scored 51 points in the 2 games that Halliburton wasn't there. And that team was really young, man. If they could re-sign Siakam and then moving forward, I think that could be a team that could be Could be a player in the East.
Right.
But yeah, I don't want to talk about the East. I do want to talk about the West.
Yes.
So teams that go up 3-0, it's been going around. 154-0. Do you know how many teams in NBA history have forced a game 7 after being down 3-0?
You said 100 and so I know how
It's
many.
154-0 are teams that are up 3-0. My question to you
Is
is how many teams have forced a game 7?
I'm going to say 43.
You are way off.
It's way less.
It's
Crazy less.
Shocking how little it's.
Okay, 6.
Very close. It's 4.
Okay.
1951 NBA Finals, the Knicks against the then Rochester Royals. 1994 Western Conference Semifinals, Nuggets versus Jazz. 2003 Western Conference first round, Mavericks versus Trailblazers. And then last year's Miami Heat against the Boston Celtics. Now, I know prior to Game 4, Minnesota was 50-1 to win the NBA title. They win Game 4. Now they're 15-1 to win the title. I didn't have enough time for this, and I don't know if there is, like, you have to go through 154 series to figure this one out. But I don't know how many teams that are down 3-0 also would have Game 7 at home. Because remember, Minnesota lost the first 2 at home.
Right.
Boston last year lost the first 2 at home. So then they had Game 5 at home, Game 6 on the road, Game 7 at home.
Mm-hmm.
So all things are not created equal.
Agreed.
I still would rather be where I'm at with the Mavericks than not be where I'm at with the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
This series has been very close. I think the series should be 2-2, honestly.
Agreed.
But it's 3-1. They were up 3-0. Do you give any chance to Minnesota to make this a series? Because I personally think, bro, the fact that 5 and 7 would be in Minnesota, it's way different. Because in the past, you would have the higher seed defend home court. They win Game 1 and 2. They steal Game 3. And now, it's 3-0 down. The opponent is like, fuck, man. Even if we do come back, we got to win Game 5 on the road. And then we got to win Game 7 on the road. Where this one, the home team has not home court advantage, but in a way, like 2 of the 3 would be at home.
Bro, this is why you're one of the best to do it in the content
this is
creation
fine.
space, because I would never in my wildest dreams, if I was hosting this show, ask my guest, make a case for the other team that would absolutely fuck all my bets. But hey, here we go. Here we go, bro. Because Anthony Edwards looks back. I'll say back. I think he had taken a huge step back early on in the series. For whatever reason, like the foot was not fully down on the gas pedal. And I also think that Dallas was starting to play him in a sense where, all right, bro, shoot. You know what I mean? Anthony Edwards' bread and butter is to drive it to the basket. And if he doesn't get those foul calls and they're letting him play, he's a pretty reckless player, like almost like a Russell Westbrook back in the OKC days where it was just like everybody knew he struggled to shoot. And, he would just try to make wild plays at the rim. I think when I was on this show last week, we had discussed who does it have to be on the Timberwolves to score 30 points with him in order for them to win games. Because you had mentioned Kyrie and Luka needed 65, which they've been pretty steady and consistent.
And guess
60,
what?
Yeah.
Game 4, them 2, 44 points.
Mm-hmm.
Game 1, 2, and 3, close to that 65 mark.
100%. You were spot on with that.
How good was that handicap, bro?
That was pretty spot on because Kyrie is just officially turned it on.
Yeah.
And the one thing, though, that if I'm going to continue to make this case for the Timberwolves is that Karl Anthony Towns has finally, stepped up, and he's been a player in which he's hitting clutch threes down the end of the game. They're playing extremely tough defense. So tough, as a matter of fact, that going into the fourth quarter, it was him, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, and Anthony Edwards were all in like serious foul trouble. and, Karl Anthony Towns ends up fouling out with like a minute 30 left. I think that they found a recipe though. They're like, in order to win this series, we have to out physical the Mavericks. Very similar to what the Nuggets did with them in that series. The Nuggets were like, yeah, if Luka is going to beat us, sure, but we're going to punch him. We are going to make sure that we're glued onto him at every point in time. And when you watch the series play out, watch how much tougher they really are going at him, because they know that one, he's injury prone, but two, he's got the mouthpiece to him. And so if you're getting roughed up, you're not shooting well, and your shit talking isn't working, like that's a recipe for disaster for you.
Yeah, and back to the case, Edwards and Towns outscored Luka and Kyrie 54-44.
Mhm.
If they were on par, Mavs end up winning that game.
Right.
So like they need to outperform them
In order to win.
because over the first 3 games of the series, the Dallas duo, 60 points per game, to Edwards and Towns is 37.
Wow.
So it really might just come down to, your duo against my duo. What's good? Now,
Yep.
I will say a video that got a lot of attention that we posted, the Soul Snatchers. Let's see it, Kyrie and Luka.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone into buildings. They did it. They did it in game 2.
Yep.
With the buzzer beater that Luka had. I'm not concerned yet, but I will say, if they don't win this game, I think there's a lot of pressure swinging towards Dallas to get it done in Dallas game 6.
Right.
Because then going on the road, that's going to be tough. And then I also think about it like, damn, bro, is Minnesota going to lose a 3rd game at home?
Everything that I've seen up to this point has just led me to believe that the Timberwolves' best player is 21, 22 years old. I think 22. Bro, there's going to be speed bumps. And I think he hit the speed bump really hard, down 3-0. And then he, at the end of the game 4, was the one shooting the ball every single time with the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That takes nuts, bro. Like you got the weight of a city on your shoulders.
And then also Lively was out.
Yeah.
Lively's been a big part of their success, man.
Yep.
Big part of their success. And dude looked like he got the worst concussion of all time.
Yeah.
That looked pretty bad. And just like I started doing some foreshadowing after, right? Because I'm like, 3-0, like Celtics, Mavericks, let's go. Because I do have a bet for $600 at 11 to 1 at the start of the playoffs, Mavericks, Celtics to be the finals. I was like foreshadowing and I'm watching, and something that I always talk about, how Celtics were 2-0 against them, both rather convincing wins. Tatum and Brown in the one game went crazy. Luka went crazy in both games. However, those games were like in December. Or the one game like PJ Washington was there. And it's just, who would have thought that Lively missing would be a big piece, right?
Yeah.
So you can't, we do this sometimes in sports, like sports media, you see it happen all the time. And especially with load management in the NBA, especially with sometimes in the NFL, maybe a team was still trying to figure it out. They got a new coordinator and they get a terrible loss October 6th in week 5. And then they play again in the playoffs. And you're saying to yourself, it's a rematch. The first time they played, they got smoked. Who says it won't happen again? Well, what happened was we're on a 10-game winning streak now. We got 2 guys back that didn't play in that game. Who played in that game? What were the report? Like, there's so much shit that changes. And I think, prior to this Lively injury, I think that the Mavericks were peaking and they were healthy going into the finals. Now, Boston is benefiting because the finals is not going to be till next Thursday, and they're benefiting because they get to rest Porzingis, and like that team looks different without Porzingis.
Yeah, I know you don't want to spend too much time talking about the Celtics, but it's going to take a game and a half. Think about Andrew Wiggins last year coming in late into the NBA finals, bro. These guys, even if you were playing in the playoffs already, like the game shape is different and getting shots in the game is different.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
I don't think the Celtics win that matchup regardless. Give Lively enough time to come back from almost getting decapitated. I think he'll be fine. Which, by the way, when I saw it too, I'm like, it did look bad. Hey, it's the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, we got to get in there. You know, you're not shooting the ball, Lively. I need you to fucking block some shots.
Well, it was the same thing. I found it very funny, I should say, that the NFL was so strict with COVID during the COVID season. And then come the playoffs, no one tested for COVID. It felt pretty sketchy that the owners are probably like, yo, bro, we can't have Mahomes miss a game now because he got COVID.
Yeah.
And there were literally no suspensions, no guys having to miss the games because all of a sudden they stopped, I guess, testing for COVID during the playoffs. I'm telling you, it was something because, dude, you know, one of the videos that I was doing back then got shadow banned and got demonetized on YouTube because I read the COVID NFL like guidelines.
Oh yeah.
So you weren't even allowed to say the C word back then.
Yeah.
But I just do remember come playoff time, they were like, yo, I guess everyone's playing. Yeah. I'm going to be a little worried, bro. I'm going to be a little worried. Like, I think Kyrie and Luka do go crazy in one of these next 3 games and it catapults them. But, you know, fuck, making it difficult. Because I do think it's important to note that they're playing game 5 and 7 at home. And I don't know in the past if that's been the case. Like, usually the team that's down now would have to go, if it was reversed, they'd be going to Dallas.
Right.
Down.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's way different. To me, it hasn't necessarily felt like a home court advantage is like a real thing. Like Boston, I think, is the only team that was in the Final Four that actually had like a true home court advantage. Timberwolves fans are figuring out what the fuck the playoffs are, and Mavs fans are like, is that Dirk Nowitzki out there? No, they're having to shift their brain. But the Celtics, they bring it. They're the only true home court advantage that there is left in the NBA playoffs. So to me, it's like, it's a flip of a coin, dude. They're soul snatchers, the Mavericks. And, you know, I think there's no blowouts in these next 3 games. Like, I don't think any team loses by more than 8 points. Like, I think every game comes down to the final possession. And so it's going to be fun to watch. I'm excited for it.
So let me ask you this. Shout out to Rebet app, the sponsor of the show. I'm looking at their odds here, and I want to just give you a couple, and I want to see what sparks your interest, right? Peer-to-peer betting app. Use promo code VM. They will match $100 to your $100 deposit. And we've given away some money to some people that are members of the Patreon, and they've deposited, and they like this peer-to-peer feature. I've always felt like the future of sports betting is what this company is doing now. So I'm happy to have them on board. I'm looking at their app, and I'm looking at their odds. You have to pick one.
Okay.
Plus 410, the Wolves to win the series.
Okay.
Anthony Edwards, Finals MVP, plus 1,500. Jason Tatum, Finals MVP, minus 125. Can I give you my Tatum logic?
Yeah.
I know Brown won Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He's plus 450 on Rebet. It gotta be Tatum going crazy. And I'd rather bet Tatum at minus 125 than the Celtics at minus 230 to win the finals.
Yeah. I would say that's a logical way to explain how you got there.
So you have to pick one of the 3.
I mean, bro, I'm a sucker for value. And I think there's legitimate value in the Anthony Edwards one. Plus 410, cool. But if they make it, you know, I think the same case you make for Tatum, I can make for our boy to go off on the main stage and become the true face of the league. And if I'm going to be honest, it would be the funeral for the Celtics, because after making it twice and just constantly being knocking at the door, Eastern Conference finals, then you go and then you lose to a rookie, or well, not a rookie, but he's young. In my head, Anthony Edwards is a rookie. Give him the opportunity to do that, and I think he takes it. He's fearless right now. It's almost like a CJ Stroud with the Texans last year, where it's just like he doesn't know what the dark side looks like, and he's going to shine on the biggest moment.
I'm gonna wait until about, when the players are at center court and they're tucking in their jerseys before the tip off.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be having the Anthony Edwards MVP bet like ready to confirm. I just have a gut feeling, which segues into the UFC pay-per-view this weekend.
mm-hmm.
I just have a gut feeling that I'm pretty nervous about my Mavericks bets. Like,
That's
bro,
nuts.
I would be, I don't want to say anything crazy like, I'll never bet again because I'm going to bet forever. But if I'm on the wrong side of the 3-0 comeback, it's going to be catastrophic.
Yeah.
I also have
I'll
Mavericks. I also have Mavericks futures like solo. I have Mavericks Rangers. I have Mavericks Stars. I have Mavericks in a crazy Mavericks Rangers Columbia England parlay. Like, I might cry.
I mean, no, dude. Don't cry. Don't cry. You
Especially if that. But here's the thing: if like that's the one that loses,
yeah.
Like imagine Columbia England and the Rangers win,
Ooh.
and then it's like the Mavericks don't. I'd be like, what?
What?
or even worse. This might even be worse. Imagine the Rangers and the Stars win the series, and the Mavericks don't. Which, if it comes down to a Game 7 in any of those series, I'm definitely going to hedge. I'm not going to cash out. But this is what we were talking about with Maddie last week. How you shouldn't cash out because there's ways you can make bets down the road as a hedge to where you'll have either equal value or a lot of value in one way or another. So, yeah, download the Rebet app and use promo code VM. I want to talk about the UFC pay-per-view. I made it the cover of the thumbnail. UFC 302. Pretty good card. Really good card, actually. The main event. I want to spend time on the main event. Dustin Poirier is fighting Islam Makhachev. Makhachev is the 155-pound lightweight champion. He's pound for pound number 1. This is the first time, though, he's fighting a 155er, George, in his last 2 fights because he's fought Volk twice. And he hasn't been as active as Dustin. Dustin is coming off cashing as a 2-1 underdog against BSD, Benoit Saint-Denis, who, like, I still think that's future champ. Dude is amazing. But he got caught, right? He tried to box with Dustin, and Dustin has some of the best hands in UFC history.
Right.
It's been billed to be the last dance for Dustin Poirier. The cover of the thumbnail is The Last Dance for Dustin Poirier. He's a big underdog, bro.
Yeah.
He's plus 295 on Rebet. You can get him plus 450 at other places. No one's giving him a chance. But I have this gut feeling
that he's the American savior.
Yeah, if you want to call that. But I just like, have you ever had a friend of yours, like a friend of yours texts you like an outcome of something and it was something you've been saying maybe to another group chat and the two don't have any connection with them? So I text the UFC group chat, and even though like it's the same group of friends, my buddy Finney, shouts to Finney, he's not in the group chat. But I told the guys like, yo, I could see it. I was like, I can't get this out of my head. Islam is ragdolling Dustin. It's 30-26 going into round 4. Mike Brown in the corner is like, yo, bro, your daughter's here for the first time watching you.
Oh my God.
Right? Because Poirier's daughter is actually going to watch him. It's like minus 800 that he's retiring if he loses.
Right.
And I think even if he wins, he might just like relinquish the belt. Because he's been saying, yo, I want to fight for the belt. Have people
done that before?
Well, George St. Pierre came back. He beat Bisping, and then he let go of the belt. And Dana White was pissed. He's like, yo, bro, I just made you cut the line.
I got to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
How do you even?
Yeah.
Got it. All right, here you go.
Yeah. You want to get to the mountaintop. And then, he was never, George St. Pierre was never a 185er. He was always a 170. And he went up to fight a 185er who was kind of a 170. It's not like he went up to fight Pereira.
Right.
Or Adesanya. So that's why I also think GSP did that. But that's a whole different conversation. But I see it. It's 30-26 Islam. Habib's in his corner. It's like, brother, it's over. And then Mike Brown and Dustin's corner is like, yo, bro, Jolie is here, Dustin's wife. The kid is here. You're going to go out like this?
He looks up. The daughter's right there. He glances up. He's just sweating.
Yeah.
And the little girl's like, Daddy,
yeah,
win the title.
She blows him a kiss. And then Dustin goes out there round four. Ready for this? Shout out to Rebet. This is an additional plug. Rebet, the only place you could get Dustin Poirier. Are you ready?
Yeah.
80-1 round 4 finish.
Whoa.
80-1 round 4 finish for Dustin Poirier. So I'm saying all this because I wrote out this thing. I sent it to the group chat, and then my buddy Finney today texts me. He goes, "Yo, by the way, Poirier round 4." He's done that 3 times to me. Adesanya Pereira, the second time he texts me round 2. Izzy wins round 2. To Poirier Volk, he sends it round 2 to Poirier. He wins in round 2. For Max Holloway, I'll be honest. He said round 4 or 5. I was on round 5. He wins in round 5. This is promising. We gotta do it, man. We gotta do this one for Finney. We gotta do this one for Dustin. I think he could get it done, man. I really do, because Islam, he's Habib's protege, but Islam has a blemish on his record. He's been knocked out before in the UFC. Is he gonna just go down there and submit Dustin? Dustin is 0-2 in title fights, and guess what? He's been submitted both times. Islam Makhachev is going to be part of Subathon at plus 105 on Rebet, like for sure. But I'm betting Dustin round 4.
I mean, it's just, it seems like one of the things that I've heard about Islam is just like that, I don't know, a lack of a killer instinct. Like he has it, but it's almost like it's tamed, right? Like that's his persona. It's not like the Habib.
I don't know if I agree, because he has 6 finishes in his last 7.
But this is just what I've been able to identify and hearing other people talk about him, is that when you are now being compared to your coach, it didn't ever seem like there was a downfall in Habib's game. And, that's who you are going to be compared to. This right here could be the reason why he will never live up to the greatness that was Habib. So I'm with you. I honestly am more so looking forward to the co-main. But this is going to be good. The one thing I saw was the guillotine statue. Would you get a statue of your 80-1 ticket?
I mean, bro,
put it on a Poirier
do you know the most heavily wagered bet at one of the sports books is Dustin Poirier by submission 22-1, and it's a picture of him in a guillotine.
Yeah, didn't he say it in his?
Yeah, he has no finishes in his career via guillotine.
How many subs does he have?
He has a couple. Like he subbed Chandler. He's actually the only person to ever stop Max Holloway. He beat him via submission. He's a black belt. And that's another subplot in this matchup, because Islam is always like, brother, who black belt? Like, he kind of shits on his black belt. So I don't know, man. I just think, I know I've referenced Maddie a couple times, but I told Maddie, I was like, yo, we kind of got to bet Dustin. First of all, I don't think he should be a 5-1 underdog, 4-1 underdog. He's an underdog that'll fight for your money. Another thing I like always saying, especially in the UFC, because he literally is like Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway. Like, these guys are going to fight for your money. They're going to show up. They're going to put on a performance. And look, man, he just cashed as a big underdog against a guy that was supposed to steamroll him. I just think that it's something that I'd rather have a Dustin ticket than not have a Dustin ticket and he wins. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Obviously, you can say that about a bunch of shit, but I think with this one, just like the story, it's his last fight. His family is there. And I think it's I don't want to say favorable matchup because Islam is minus 700 to win.
Mm-hmm.
I think things are going to get interesting Saturday.
How do you feel about my favorite bet to make in these big pay-per-views? It's just 2 fights that have the 5 rounders, but both of those fights to go the distance.
Well, in the co-main, so the main event is minus 600 to not go the distance. And the co-main, I think, is really interesting because it is a 5-round fight between Costa and Strickland. Costa has never went into championship rounds because he's only had one. Actually, no, he has. But what I wanted to say, actually, is that he's gassed terribly.
Right.
So, like, Strickland round 3, 4, and 5 is definitely going to be in play. But I think the way I'm going to bet this fight, Costa rounds 1 and 2, Strickland's round 3, 4, 5.
Mm.
And if it goes the distance, or if like Costa wins in round 5, so be it.
Right.
But that's how I'm going to bet this one.
Gotcha.
And you can get good numbers too, like Costa for round 1 plus 1,000, Costa round 2, 12 to 1. And then you get Strickland round 3, 15 to 1. Strickland round 4, 18 to 1. Strickland round 5, 25 to 1.
Damn. That's like max level value. Wasn't he 25 to 1?
Max was 30 to 1
for
in
the
round 5.
Round 5?
The round 4, he was 25 to 1. Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be, and there's a lot of fights on this card that we didn't go over. There'll definitely be a subathon. Check out the Patreon. We'll make sure to have all the plays for the weekend. We have a soccer game on Saturday, which I have Real Madrid tickets also. So that'll be fun. We have all these playoffs going on and whatnot. So it's going to be a really cool weekend, man. It's going to be capped off by this UFC pay-per-view that's going to be going down in Jersey.
That's a good place to have a pay-per-view. Have you ever been to one in Jersey?
I haven't, no. I've been to Barclays and I've been to MSG a bunch. And then here in Vegas and Miami. I went to the Miami one too. Where else did I go? Did I go anywhere else? No, that's
a cool thing about UFC. You can really hit all the cities.
Yeah,
that's kind of like their home stadium.
It's
you
dope.
Know what I mean?
It's dope, man. Because they have like certain staples where they're gonna go to Brazil once, they're gonna go to Abu Dhabi once, they're gonna go to either New Zealand or Australia.
Yep.
They'll go to Europe, right? They've been doing London. They're doing London in July. And then they'll randomly like Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Now Miami has become a destination, and then the November card is always at MSG.
We got to find a way to get into the Sphere. That
Sphere is going to be interesting. Yeah.
That's going to be nuts.
Yeah. Have you been to the Sphere?
Have not. No. Did you see the profits they made? Oh, it's crazy. Because I was like looking at, I'm like, why the fuck aren't they like bringing Travis Scott to have a concert? You know what I mean? Like, why is U2 headlining for 3 months? They ended up making like $34 million off those movies that they play. $34 million in a month off of just a giraffe.
But
on a screen.
I also heard that the electric bill is like $500,000 a month. A day, I mean. Win some, you lose some.
Did I mention the advertising on the outside? We're talking another $50 million a month. But no, it's nuts.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And it seems like it might be Marab, who we had Marab on the show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Shout out to Marab. My teammate at Syndicate MMA. Let's wrap up the show. Shout out to the members of the Patreon.
Oh, Nick, did you want me to mention the Draymond Green comments now?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is Draymond Green clearly has not been paying attention to what we've been talking about, where, you know, Kyrie Irving comes out and he talks about, you know, it's just, hey, we're getting paid to play a game. And Draymond says on Shaq's podcast that the NBA did not set Draymond Green up for success. Nick, you're shaking your head. Just tell me how you feel.
So the backstory is he went on Shaq's podcast and he said that the NBA doesn't do a good job of setting up its athletes post-playing career to be successful. And sort of like, you know, they got to pay taxes and, you know, they get, he was talking about the fines that he's suffered. And that players are not set up, like they lose millions of dollars due to fines and suspensions, and the penalties hugely impact his future, which I get because like he's got hit with some egregious fines. And, you know, we spoke about it one time with the NFL, how not TJ Warren, the running back for the Steelers. Is it TJ Warren? No, TJ Warren's a basketball player. Jalen Warren.
Yes,
the running back, where like he got 2 fines and they were his game checks.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
That's
right.
Fucked up.
But he's made $177 million to his NBA career. That's just off like contracts, right? And I know I'm pocket watching right now, but he talks about how the league's financial structures doesn't allow long-term wealth for players. I mean, bro, literally last week, finally athletes are not delusional. Jalen Williams on the Thunder says, I get paid millions of dollars to dribble a basketball. What's there not to be happy about?
Mm-hmm.
Josh Hart says people work 12-hour shifts to make $200 and they're fucking drilling holes into the center of New York City to come watch us play. Like, I'm not tired, I'll be fine. And then Kyrie kind of echoed the same sentiment as him. It's like, yo, I'm sorry, man. And I had some people hit me up and they're like, you know, you're not taking mental health seriously and all that. It's like, nah, I am. And I've had my issues. I've been very outspoken in the past about it. And dude, this might sound shallow, but this is just my experiences. Like I said, a lot of that was when I was super broke and I was struggling just to pay regular ass bills. And I know now what a big relief it is that when a bill does come in, yeah, does it suck? I'm like, damn, I could have kept that $400, but I could pay it effortlessly. Mm-hmm. And the amount of people that like barely just get by, like the stat is like 70% of Americans
live
paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And like 80% of them can't withstand $1,000 unexpected expense.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get a transmission or some shit. It's like, bro, that sets you back for months. I can't hear you complain when you've made $177 million. That's not including endorsements. And let's say you get taxed, right? Let's say $77 million you pay the taxes, right? Because you live in California, high tax rate. I get all that. Made $100 million. That's 120. He's played 813 games in the NBA. It's $123,000 a game.
That's crazy.
You're making some people's salaries in 2 years in a game. I'm sorry, bro. I just can't hear you cry wolf. And that goes for everybody. Yeah. Like, remember Paul George in the bubble was like, he got seriously depressed and his mental health issues. It's like, bro, you made $42 million that year.
Yeah.
How can someone that makes $40,000, $50,000, makes $800 a week and they're working 40, 50, 60 hours, hear you and not think that you're crazy to even bring this up?
You know what's really eye-opening to me is that these NBA players still fall into the same traps that we do too, where you can compare yourself to other people. It's like Draymond Green, bro. Like, why are you comparing yourself to Steph Curry, a global icon? Steph's name is here, your name is here, and that's the way it's going to be. But you're comparing yourself to, you know, not maybe one of your teammates, but then you got Shaq. You're taking Shaq's spot on TNT and stuff. And I can only imagine that you run it through your head that, oh, well, Shaq's really got everything that he's ever wanted and more for generations and generations. It's like, bro, how much more do you want? Or just kind of like you're saying, shut the fuck up and just keep grinding and don't ever talk about money struggles because clearly you are well off. It's fucked.
It's
from Draymond Green.
It's I don't know. I just can't get behind it, bro. Okay, I struggle with that. We need to wrap up this episode because we got another show coming in. But all things Veterans Minimum are at Veterans Minimum. I don't think I did Patreon.
No, I was about to say, I ruined the roll call. I don't want to ruin the roll call, but
roll call is important.
Got to give the roll call.
We'll pull up the Patreon right now. So patreon.com/Veterans Minimum. We got Daniel Gibson, Mahul Patel, Abel Rezin, Ben Kotzian, Christopher Velasquez, Derek Platees, Dylan Chadwick, Jerry Shapiro, Jordan Riley. We got Mike Stevens, Mike Wozniak, Nick Crummage, and Thomas Robinson. And if you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/veterans minimum, you can see the tiers being scrolled through right now. We have a $1, $5, $10, $20, and $40 tier for the Patreon. All your contributions are going towards building the show. And we got giveaways, shout outs, and the whole nine. And yeah, at Veterans Minimum, all things Veterans Minimum. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
In his element, I'm a gold medalist, bronze like your medal is. So many deer in headlights, but it's bedtime. Hear that supper bell, main course be the venison.
Dab. Most dangerous game. Either kill or be killed.